Let's ask Derek Falvey, Twins president of baseball operations. Confirm or deny you were in at 6:50, Derek?
I cannot confirm or deny, and I know I'm here. I'm sure you want to talk to David Stearns. I'm sure he'll be on at some point along the way. But, incredible deal for Soto last night.
Yeah. Hey, good morning. Thanks for taking some time with us. We kid, of course. But you guys have your own agenda right now, an off-season agenda. But if we wind back to 2024, it feels like we've talked about this before with you, and there's nothing you can do about not having the core of your team on the field very often, which was something that Rocco suffered from this year. Injuries really hit you guys pretty hard in the second half of the season. I mean, what can you do? Is it just a matter of having reinforcements and a deeper roster every year? You tell me.
Yeah, Matt, you're right. I mean, at the end of last year, we struggled down the stretch. The silver lining of it was we got a lot of good young players get some experiences that we know will help build them into the next year. But as you said, when I look at our roster and I think about the rotation headlined by Pablo Lopez, Joe Ryan, Bailey Ober, and then those young starters behind, you've got a bullpen that Joan Duran and Griffin Jacks really emerged last year as back-end elite guys. And then, a position player crew that's headlined by Carlos Correa, Byron Buxton, and Royce Lewis. We feel like it's a core we can build off of, and ultimately, hopefully, we can get right back to where we were in 23, winning a division.
Derek, looking at your lineup last year, and you just touched on the depth. At least Matt was asking about that. Your minor league system is one of the best in baseball, but you don't get that high-end credit because you have so many young players in the big leagues. So Who's running that minor league system? You guys are doing an amazing job. Yeah,
I mean, it's been fun to watch. I mean, that's a credit to so many people across the organization. First, it starts with your scouting staff and what you do in international and in the draft, and we've done a great job building that through. We think we have one of the best staffs in the game in those areas. And then ultimately our player development staff, led by Jeremy Zoll, who's now in the GM seat, who ran it as a farm director, ultimately on to Alex Hassan and Drew McPhail. We feel like that group continues to emerge. But when we look down and we think about all those guys we tested last year, one of the best examples is Zebby Matthews. He started in A-ball for us last year, and he was pitching in meaningful games in the big leagues in September. So that's a credit to the growth and the development of all our coaches, our staff, and everyone else that works behind it.
Hey, Derek, because the dollars in this year's market have gone way north of where some people thought they'd go, there's a kind of a renewed emphasis now on players that are under contract and their employers taking phone calls on those players. The Cubs, we're led to believe, are taking a lot of phone calls on Cody Bellinger. Some have speculated that you're taking a lot of phone calls on players like Carlos Correa. What can you tell us about maybe league-wide and then specific to your situation with Carlos? Are people calling?
Yeah, I mean, we enter every offseason, and this has been true the last few years, where we get a lot of calls on our premium guys. Carlos being one, and a number of others. You talk about Byron. We talked about the pitching already. There are teams that are trying to find out where we are and what our focus is. We believe in the core of this team. We believe this is a competitive team that's going to continue to get better. The young players, as we just talked about, both in our minor league system and on the big league roster, will take steps forward. So our focus is on how we win here in 25, how we continue to be creative and resourceful around the roster that we have and add to it in ways that will hopefully help us down the stretch.
Hey, the Central was well represented last year. Did you see that coming with Detroit and with the things that were happening in that? Cleveland, obviously, yourselves. Did you see that coming? Kansas City emerging. That's what the club I was looking for. I was kind of stalling myself. But did you see that coming?
Yeah, I mean, I looked at our division before it started, and I know, we don't tend to get the highlights of some of the coastal divisions, but when we looked at the group, we knew Cleveland had a young team that was growing. They won the division the year before us in 22. We saw Kansas City and Detroit getting better, and ultimately what you saw in the second half of the year was a really competitive AL Central. Obviously, 3 playoff teams. We fell just short, but ultimately we know that's going to be the reality next year. So there's nothing that comes easy in baseball, and certainly not in the AL Central. When we look at the rosters around us, we're going to need to go continue to build off that and use the fuel from last year, seeing what those guys did, knowing what we need to do this year to try and get better.
Hey, my last question. One of my favorite things is the rule changes in baseball. Obviously the pitch clock, but more importantly, the shift rule. We've eliminated somebody standing deep right field, and it looks like we're way more athletic, and you're one of the top athletic teams in baseball. Do you feel like the rules helped you, and were you planning that as you were seeing this change coming?
I agree. I think some of these rule changes, obviously, they're widely loved by our fan base, certainly from our players and otherwise, getting this pace of the game up. I think the fact that we're talking about other rule changes, even if they're ones that are just discussions right now, I think is good for the game. I think it's only going to make it better. And for our team, like you said, we're trying to lean into athleticism, guys that can play everywhere. We have guys like Willie Castro who play all around the field. The ability to lean into an athletic roster is something that we know hopefully will be a competitive advantage over time, and ultimately, hopefully, we can be a good defense behind that.
Derek, we appreciate the visit. Thanks for taking a little time with us this morning. I know you're busy when you guys are there with all kinds of people and things pulling at your shirt sleeve. So thanks for being with us, and we wish you the best this holiday season. Thanks for the time.
Thanks for having me on, guys.